Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Nick with Draftbit. I'm joined this week by George. What's going on, George?
Not much. Glad to be back. Been a good
Great to
week.
have you back.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a quick live stream here. We've got a bunch of cool things that happened in Draftbit this week. I'm just gonna name them really quickly because I actually just want to jump into what George is gonna show us today. Um, Thank you to Caleb, our top community member for the month. Super awesome to have your contributions this month. We're launching an affiliate program. So visit community.draftbit.com and go follow the instructions on the affiliate program link and apply to be an affiliate for Draftbit. We also have some new docs on transform functions, so definitely check those out. Thanks to Aman on our team for writing those great docs. And if you missed last week's live stream, we did a really cool interview with one of Draftbit's customers, Mariana. She's building a really awesome app for supporting moms in their journey to motherhood, and had a lot of really great points to say about using low and no code tools to bootstrap an app startup. So I learned a lot from her, and if you go visit that live stream replay, I think you will as well. Other than that, George, I was kind of hoping that we could just jump into this. The title of this week's live stream is Sneak Peek No Code Authentication in Draftbit. So we're pushing some features to Draftbit, maybe today, maybe Monday, that will allow you to do authentication in Draftbit entirely with no code. So George is going to show you how to do that. I guess I'll just kick it over to you, George. You want to just jump into it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting. So it's hot off the press. Just happened this morning. Our Donald VPN, just a bunch of like new actions you can do in Draftbit today. Little like inside knowledge for those following the live stream. It is not behind a feature flag, and it has been released to Parse. So now that you know, you can actually go and look at it yourself right now.
Oh, so it is live, so you can
It is
use this
live
today.
as of like a few minutes ago. So
Okay.
we might wait a little bit to announce it more publicly or not. I don't know. We'll see. But at least for those listening now, definitely go have a look. All right, I'll show you what they are. So I'm gonna go to Draftbit. This is my dashboard. I have a bunch of apps. So I'm gonna create one that is called New Actions. Here we go.
So while you're setting this up, just to kind of remind folks, we're not going to go get into this today, but auth was already possible in Draftbit. We just had like low code auth, meaning there were a few custom actions that you had to write in order to do some things with the JSON responses that you were getting from your auth server. So basically, we now have no code ways to do those things that were previously low code. And so George is going to basically build a very like lightweight no code auth today, just to show you how that works.
Exactly. And so as you see now, the first thing before I even try to replace our low code auth to a completely no code auth, I'm going to demo those two actions, and then we're going to apply to like a real example. But for now, as you can see, I'm just creating an endpoint to one of our example data service. So for those, I'm assuming, can you see my new tab? I'm not going to assume so.
No, we can only see your Draftbit
okay.
screen.
So anyway, if you go to example-data.draftbit.com, you'll see we essentially provide you with a free kind of mock backend. So we use that a lot when we want to test out like new things and we need to like simulate a backend endpoint. So that's what I'm doing here. I have a user post, and that essentially return a list of users, like fake random users, and I'm going to post to it because I'm going to use that to illustrate those two actions. So I'm just going to create a new person. That's what it does. I'm going to give it a name, and that should return like now the new person have been created. and it returns a new ID. And if I keep doing that over and over again, the ID is just incremented, and I can add as many new users as I want. It's very, very minimalist backend. It's just a test. So I'm going to save this endpoint. So now in Draftbit, I can have a button that essentially create a new user. So I'm going to create post a new user. All right. And I'm gonna, oh, that's a little bit hidden. I might have to, here we go. Yeah, sorry for the little black band on top. Otherwise, I can't quite see the full screen. Anyway, so I'm going to do one more thing because I want to display the result. I'm going to create like an ID global variable. So this is just meant to be a way to save that variable, and I'm going to show it on the screen in the text. So now here I'm going to say the new user ID is, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to just map it to that variable. So that's just displaying information. And then for the button, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call that API endpoint I just created. So I'm going to do like, it's example data service, and it's the user post endpoint. And now that's where it gets interesting. So if I just do this, it's fine. It should work. It won't do much, but it should, I won't see it on the screen, but essentially every time I click, I'm just creating a new user now in that kind of fake database. But what I want to do is the same way you'll do when you sign up or log in, you want to receive the information back and do something with it. Specifically in the case of no code auth, like an auth token. You want to like get that back, parse it, do that auth token, save it somewhere else, and maybe use that for authenticated requests later on. So that's what I'm going to demo here. So the result of my post, I'm going to call response. I'm just going to save that in response. By the way, I can just put whatever name here. We're going to put Nick. There we go. I'm going to create a Nick user every time. Now, we use, and that's the big thing, we used to have to rely on custom function to parse the JSON and then go and find in that JSON the right key. So look at it now. What we can do is use parse JSON and just give it the response that we want to parse. And then that's it. Just give it another name for the result of that action. And now I have a JSON. Because from a slightly more technical point of view, like what's being returned by that API request is a fetch object. So there's a bunch of like information about it, like the status code of the request and all that. What I just care about is the body, like the JSON in it. So with that action, without having to write one line of code, I can parse it. And now I have a JSON. And by the way, that's async. So it takes care of that for yourself. For those who've been doing it in code before, like myself, remembering to make that async is what was a very like easy mistake to do. So now you don't have to, I made that mistake 3 times myself, even though I know every time I should not. But so now I don't even have to think about it anymore. So now I have my JSON. What I can do, because if you remember, the JSON is going to look something like, just going to show it again. It's going to look something like this, right? It's just a simple dictionary with a person key and an ID key. And I want to show that ID, and I want to show that every time I click the button, it's kind of a new ID that's being created on the back end. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new action. That's the second action that's brand new, called extract key. And here I'm going to give it the JSON object. And I can always transform it in ways, but I have no transformation I want to do right now. And here's the beauty of it. I can give it the path. So I'm going to say, in my case, it's just point ID, or you can, do something like that if you want, whatever you want. But like, this is essentially how I'm going to traverse the JSON object. So if sometimes it's more complicated, sometimes it's, if you get stuff from Airtable, I think it's like fields names, sorry, dot, I don't know, name, or whatever the thing is. So in our case, it's very simple. It's ID. And I'm going to save it as just a new variable called ID. So that's done. And then finally, I'm going to save it to that global variable. I set it up at the beginning just so I can show the results. This step is not new or mandatory, but it's just better for the demo. So here you go. I'm going to save the global variable ID with the value ID. And that's all there is to it. Let's give it a try. Let me being wrong. I like things to look a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to preview it. Drum roll. Let's see if that works. Oh, wait, one last thing I like to do. I don't like to see that header thing. So here we go. Here we go. Oh, look at that beautiful demo. Okay, I'm going to post and give it a second. And here we go. So it worked. I got 55. That's the ID that was returned for that new user I created. I can click again. It's going to give me 56 and click again, 57. And so again, that's all we do. We do API requests, we pass the response, we extract the right key, and we save it to a global variable. All of that without one line of code. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Amazing.
All right. So,
so
let's maybe apply it to a real example. Is that where you're going?
That's where I was going.
Okay.
So now today.
Yeah, we've explained the basic now, so I'm going to try to really show what we can do in terms of like no-code auth. So for those who remember a few office hours ago, we had that Xano authentication demo app that was essentially helping us sign up to Xano, create a user and sign up. I haven't done that, so we're doing it live here a little bit. We'll see what would work. First of all, I'm going to just try to like see where we left off. So what do we have? So I can sign up a user on the other tab. I'm going to have a look at my backend just so I make sure everything's happening on the right way. So give me just 1 sec while I connect to Xano.
I thought we had only done login. Maybe we did do sign up.
Yeah, I think we did both. I hope we'll find out. There's only one way to find out. Let's do it live. Okay, I'm slowly getting there, guys. Just 1 sec. I'm looking at my Xano backend, my database, my user. Okay, so now I have a bunch of users. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna hope that's all right. Okay, so let's try to sign up. George, new actions at draftbit.com. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. See where we left off. Okay, so that's it. We created. Nice. Yeah, we were able to create a user. You guys don't see it on this screen because I'm only showing the tab, but let me double check that it's in my user base. I think it might be, but actually, it might be in a different tab. Anyway, that doesn't really matter as long as this works. So as you can see, like we're able to get the email that we receive from that sign up response. And we're also actually able to then other authenticated requests to that auth me endpoint that Xano provide. But so that all that works, and I can log out. So pretty good. Let me try to just see if the logging work. The reason I'm doing that, I don't want to, if something doesn't work here, I don't want to build on top of it, obviously. So test 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, new action, draftbit.com. All right, so that works. Great. But if you remember, the way we did all that is through a little bit of code, just a tiny bit of code. So we were doing the request the same way we saw in that user example I showed at the very beginning. But then we had like a custom function to parse that response. That's what it looks like. And then we're setting the global variable, and for that we also use kind of a custom function to like get to the right key, and then another custom function to get the email. So anyway, a bunch of like 2 or 3 custom functions. So let's see if we can replace that. I'm going to replace it for the logging screen. So the first thing I'm going to do, so this thing worked. I don't think we need to touch anything. It's the logging endpoint. It saves something into the logging response. So now what I want to do is parse that logging response. And I'm going to save it into logging response JSON. Oh, typo, logging response JSON. Oh, did I do? Oh, yeah. So I already have a logging response JSON, the one I do a custom. So I'm going to just delete it because we're trying to replace it. I'm going to move that action up the chain. So here it is. I might have to type it again because it was a duplicate at first. Logging response JSON. And that's it. So now I've got my JSON. We already removed one line of code. Sorry. So that one line of code I can actually kind of delete. I won't delete it just yet because I think it might be used with the other screen for now, but eventually we won't need it at all. And then this one I'm also going to replace get Xano authorization header. Yeah, that we can also replace. And then, you know what, I'm gonna start with this one. I'm gonna replace this one. What does this one do? Get Xano auth user email. And so what it does is it essentially, if there is an auth user email, we're gonna save that. So let me turn that into. So I'm just trying to remember all the name auth user email. Okay, so I'm gonna delete it. Done, it's gone, and I'm going to replace it with that extra key function that we have. So I'm going to give it the JSON. I'm giving the path. That's why I was paying attention to. That's what I want to use, the thing I copy paste. So now it's going to be auth user email. Maybe I can also, let's see if I can show people, because it's been a while. I don't know if people remember all of the kind of format of the response. I'm going to try to do it with the thing I just created, new action, Draftbit, draftbit.com. I called it 12345 6, just a fake password. Let's see if that works now. Okay, so that's the response. That's what I'm getting back. And so not only I want to parse it, but I want to get to that email. So auth user email. That's exactly what I have here. So that should work. And now I can just save it, auth user email, which should be good here. And then that auth user email. Oh, what happened? Oh, I need to move that up once because at the very end, we navigate to the screen. And I think we want to pass it, auth your user email, just so we can show it on the second screen, auth user email. Okay, am I doing everything right? Let's find out. Just want to make sure that's how it's called. Is that how it's called? Auth user email. Yeah. Okay. And that's the navigation param. Okay. So that should be good. All right. So we've replaced. The only thing we haven't replaced is this one. I'll say something about it in a sec. But at least we've replaced the parse JSON and the extract key. So let's see if that works now for the login screen. Are you following, Nick? Does all that make sense?
Sure does.
Okay, sweet. I don't want to be too confusing. So let me try to log in again with this. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I run into something.
Was it new action or was it test action?
I thought it was new action, but actually I should. Let me. Also don't exactly. So I'm trying to check in the database that is the right thing. Maybe it's a different. Okay. Well, we're doing it live, so we'll figure it out. Let's see what's happening. I'm going to inspect. You might not see that part of the screen. Oh, sorry.
Was it Gmail or was it Draftbit?
Oh, man. What? That one espresso was not enough this morning. All right. Let's test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So that worked. We were able to retrieve from the navigation parameter that email. So essentially, that's the thing that came from the response. So we're able to parse it and extract the right value, as you can see here. Now, so that works. That's great. Essentially, we've done no-code auth, which is a pretty big deal with Xano, but it would work with any other like third-party backend. Thank you, team. I do wish I had to co-op with my espresso. That'd be too much. It's not Saturday yet. That's a Saturday treat right there. Croissant espresso. Anyway, so the one thing I was mentioning is this one I did not replace, and the reason for that is because this one is a little bit of a use cases in the sense of like, as you can see, we're not just extracting the token. I'm also kind of appending some text, the like bearer value on top of it. So if I were to just use extract and save that, it won't be enough to use to do an authenticated request later on. Does that make sense? I do need that there's like string of text before. So for that, I might still rely on one custom function for this specific use case, which is the beauty of it. Like you can always rely on it. You're not blocked. I do have to fix it because I changed a few things. So it's the JSON transform with get. Okay, so now I believe that if I check this, I should see both the email that come from the navigation param as well as the email that come from that second authenticated request. Let's give that a try. New action at Draftbit. Okay. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. See, now I have this. That was missing before. So now both methods, they both work. I can do either one. I'm going to have to think a little bit of like, is there a way to replace that with a completely no-code thing? I don't have the answer to that just yet. But anyway, in the meantime,
could you do something really hacky and silly, like have a text component? No, never mind. I was thinking like a hidden text component that would concatenate the values and then like pass the, no, that's not a text component. You can't pass the value of the text component. I think you're going to need.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, longer term, we can share some insight about Draftbit. Like longer term, what would be really neat is to be able to, when I define my service, to be able here to say, not here, sorry, like here, no, here, that's the authenticated request, to be able to say, I want to type bearer and then plus Xano authentication header. So we can't quite do that just yet. And that's why I need that whole variable to be kind of in the right format already. And so for that, I mean, as much as I'm presenting it as a limitation, it's actually a pretty powerful reason why we have custom function. Like you might have any of those things coming up for any kind of reasons. So you're never blocked. You can always run that through a custom function. But anyway, so that's what we got. We got also technically you don't need that to really, I'm being a little silly here, but you can do the no-code auth, like you can auth into it. You might need still one line to do authenticated requests later on, but technically the auth part of it is completely no-code. And that's it. That's essentially it. Look at that. I'm going to show it again because it's too cool. So there's two new actions.
Yeah, can you run through like from top to bottom what every action does?
Yeah.
The TLDR.
Yeah. All right. So take a step back. We have a logging screen. We have a logging endpoint on our backend side, which in this case is Xano. We use Xano, but you could use Superbase, Firebase, like all kinds of services. So the first thing I do is I do an API request to that backend, to that logging endpoint, and I'm passing it the password and the email. Pretty straightforward for logging request. And in response, I'm getting a logging response object. That object, from a technical point of view, is a fetch object. So I want to turn that into a JSON object. I want to just look at the content and not just all the metadata that comes with that object. So that's why I'm using that parse JSON action. That's one of the 2 new actions we have today. So I'm going to parse the thing I just received and put in a different name. And that's all it is. You don't have to do anything else. It takes care of the asynchronous nature of that action and all that. And then I have my JSON. I want to be able to, first of all, I can do whatever I want with that JSON. So in this case, I'm running it into a custom function. But a more exciting, that the second new action we're showing now, is that I can just parse it with no code. So say, here's the JSON object, here's the path that I want to go. Like that's kind of the key that I want to retrieve. And I want to save that result in that new variable called auth user email. So now I have that. I can just navigate away, go back to my home page, and send and pass along that auth user email, so I can show it on the logged in page and say like, welcome back, George. So that's it. That's the whole like action stack that you're looking at right now.
Super cool. That was awesome. So that's no code auth.
No code auth. Yeah. I'm assuming again that's just hot off the press as of this morning. So we'll put more like demo and stuff like that and announce it more broadly. But a little sneak peek for you all.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you, George. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
See you guys.